the message given in the first session this morning. In verse 10, for the rest be empowered in the Lord. For time's sake, we cannot cover too much of the details, but here I would say a word. Listen to this. The spiritual warfare could never be gained by ourselves. Be empowered in the Lord. This indicates that we have to fight, not by ourselves, but by the Lord, even in Him, and in the might of His strength. Well, you must pray about this to understand what is to be empowered by the might of His strength. Here, it is clearly three words used, that the power, the strength, and the might. Be empowered. This power is just the power in chapter 1 that raised up Christ from the dead and made Him the head over all things and above all things. And this is power with which we are empowered. Yet still it says, in the might of His strength. Power first, strength second, then coming to you, it becomes the might. Now we go on to verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God. This is, again, a commandment. See? Put on. God provides an armor for you. God made an armor for you, but He would not put on for you. You have put on the armor by yourself. This shows again in the same principle of being empowered. God can empower you, but you have to exercise your will to cooperate with Him. Be empowered is in the same principle to in putting on the armor. We have to take the commandment and do it, that you may be able to stand. In the whole chapter here, the word stand is the crucial thing. To fight, the main thing is to stand. In chapter 2, we are sitting in the heavenlies. In chapter 4, we are walking on this earth. Now in chapter 6, we are standing. See? Sitting there, watching here, and standing in the battlefield. That you may be able to stand. May be able by what? By the armor of God, even the whole armor of God. Don't think you yourself can put the whole armor. You yourself cannot wear the whole armor. It is the body that can wear the whole armor of God. So we need the body. We need the body in order to be able to stand in the battlefield. We need the body to wear the whole armor. Then the items of the armor will be in the following verses. We will spend some time on them. Stand against the stratagems of the devil. Here you could see the devil does not only have a will, And he even does not have just some plans. He has some stratagems, subtle, right? Now, we have to realize this, that the devil, Satan, is working, is busy, is plotting to carry out his subtle and evil stratagems. Then verse 12 says, "For our wrestling is not against blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the world rulers of this darkness." The spiritual warfare is not fighting against men. Even men may do some damage to us, yet we should not fight back against men. We have to realize at the back of any man that is fighting against us, any man that is damaging us, at his back or at their back, I tell you, is the evil power. Or you may say, over them is the evil power. When Saul of Tarsus was desolating the church, no doubt that was not merely him, right? That was not merely him, but the power of darkness was over him, was at his back. Today, the Lord's recovery suffers a lot, right? Actually, reasonably speaking, why the people have to oppose the Lord's recovery? Why they have to attack? Am I right? Among Christian organizations, many bad things there, right? Why they don't go to fight against those? Why they come to do damage on the Lord's recovery? Well, the reason is not that blood and flesh are here. The reason is that the evil power is over them. The rulers means they are rebellious angels who followed Satan. Of course, we don't have that much time to cover the things. You better read the notes. Yeah, when you prepare the lesson, you have to get in the note. There you can see in Daniel, in Greece, there was a ruler over them in the air, which in the book Daniel is called the prince. You see, you have a prince, that is a rebellious angel who followed Satan in his rebellion against God, and of course Satan formed a kind of kingdom for himself, and Satan is the top one of that kingdom. Under him there are some rulers, and those rulers are the rebellious angels who joined Satan's rebellion against God, and today they are still there. Satan, I would go on to point out to you that Satan today actually rules over this earth, which is called this darkness. This darkness against the rulers, against the authorities, against the world rulers of these darkness. I would check with you, who are the world rulers? Not the human beings. The world rulers are the princes set up by Satan to rule over certain nations. According to Daniel, only one nation on this earth by that time was not under Satan's power. That is the Jewish nation. Jewish nation at Daniel's time was under the great archangel Michael. See, Michael was a fighting archangel. And Michael, by that time, was fighting for Israel. And all the other Gentile nations, each one was under a devilish prince, which was a rebellious angel under Satan. Now, here it says, the world rulers of this darkness. You have to see in the eyes of God, from the air to the earth, altogether is a darkness. You see, only God, He remains in the light. You see, beside that light, the whole universe, the air and the earth, are all a darkness. Because of what? Because of the dark one. Satan is the dark one. Because of him, Satan, the dark one, causes the air and the earth to be this darkness against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenlies. We are fighting, remember, not against any human beings, not against blood and flesh, but against the spiritual powers in the heavenlies. That is, against the evil spirits. And all the rebellious angels today are the evil spirits in Satan's kingdom. Now, the real battle, the real warfare between the church and Satan is a fighting between us who love the Lord in His church against the evil spiritual powers in the heavenlies. Of course, apparently, it is the people, blood and flesh, damaging the church. But actually, it is Satan with his evil angels at the back, at the rear, behind them, over them, doing things to damage the church. So we are fighting against the spiritual forces. Therefore, verse 13, take up. Why put on? Now here, say take up. I tell you, some pieces, items of the armor should put on. Some pieces, some items should pick up. For instance, the sword you have to pick up. The shield, you know what is a shield? Just like this. A shield you have to pick up. A sword you have to pick up. But the breastplate you have to put on, right? And the helmet on the head you have to put on. Even the shoes you have to put on. Some items need you to put on. Some items need you to take up. Anyhow, whether put on or take up, all these are imperative. Command you to do this, and you have to exercise your will. There is the need of a strong willing. You have to will yourself to put on the armor and to pick up some items of the armor that you may be able to withstand. We know withstand means stand against. Actually, stand against is just withstand, and withstand is just stand against. Then why Paul uses two words, because he just actually impresses us in fighting. The major thing is to stand in the evil day. You know, in chapter 5, it says, the days are evil. Every day is an evil day. Why every day is evil? Because Satan is in every day. I told you already, I like English in this way. You add D to evil, you get the devil. Yeah. When the devil is in this day is evil. And devil is in every day. Right? Devil is in every day. When we say good morning, that means the devil is away. Right? Good night, That means what? That means the devil is gone. And as long as the devil is here, nothing is good, right? When the devil is in your morning, the morning is bad. When the devil is in your day, the day is evil, right? Evil day. It's not a good day. And we cannot say good evening because the devil is there, suppose. Then, it says what? And have done all to stand. See? Withstand and have done all to stand. Withstand and stand. Then verse 14 says what? Stand therefore. Withstand, stand therefore. Including with stand altogether 4 times. You see, in verse 11, be able to stand against. Then be able to withstand. Then to stand. Then stand therefore. Fighting is a standing matter. Now, let's read verses 14 through 15. Just read a little bit. Having girded your loins with truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and having shod your faith with the firm foundation of the gospel of peace. The whole armor of God actually is of 6 pieces, 6 items. The first one is a girdle. I just tell you. The first one is a girdle. And the second one is a plate, breastplate, to cover your breast. And the third one is a pair of shoes to strengthen your feet for standing. And then you have to see these 3 are a group. You must think a little bit. Look at me. I'm standing here. I have a girdle here. Right? I have a girdle here. I'm alone. Then I have a breastplate, not breast, a plate. I have a plate covering my breast. Then I have a pair of shoes to shod my 2 feet, that I may have a firm footing. Right? Now I'm here, standing. I'm able to stand. This is a group of 3. Then we read verse 16. With all these, having taken up the shield of faith, with which you shall be able to quench all the flaming darts of the evil one, and received the element of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Good. You see, now I am able to stand by what? By wearing these 3 pieces. The girdle on my loin, the plate on my breast, and the shoes on my feet. I am able to stand. Here, verse 16 says, with all these. That means with all these 3. With all these 3. Have you noticed the punctuation? With all the 3, then you need to take up something. Those 3 items you need to put on. Put on the girdle, put on the plate, put on the shoes. Now you need to pick up. Pick up. take out the shield of faith. You know, in the ancient time, the soldiers had a shield where? In their left hand. Just like this, a shield to keep away all the arrows, all the darts, right? Okay. With which you shall be able to quench all the flaming darts of the evil one. The punctuation here is a full stop. Right? Standing, wearing three things, girdle, plate, and shoes, holding a shield. This is all what? This is all for protection. This is all for defense. Then verse 17 says, now, receive the helmet of salvation. That is on the head. And the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Where is the sword? In the right hand. Right? In the right hand. Now you can see, out of 6 pieces, 4 pieces are for wearing. On the shoe, on the feet, you have the shoes. On the head, you have the helmet. Right? On the loins, you have the girdle. On the breast, you have the plate. By these, you are covered. You are girdled. You are strengthened, and you can stand fastly. Then, in your 2 hands, on the left, you have the shield to keep away all the arrows, the darts. Then on the left, on the right, you have the sword to be very offensive. If you look at the picture, out of 6, only 1 piece is for offensive. All the other 5 mainly are for defensive. Now, we spend a little time this morning to look into the first 3 pieces. The girdle of truth. We all know to girdle yourself is just to strengthen yourself. Right? To girdle yourself is to strengthen yourself. And this strengthening is not for sitting, but for standing. Right? The girdling is not for sitting. I hate to sit there with a belt. Right? But to stand, you need a girdling. This is clear. But now, what is the truth here? What is truth here? What is truth here? What is this here? Don't forget, we have got to know the definition of the truth already. What is truth? Yeah, that is just God revealed in our living. Right? In other words, God becomes a standard, right? A principle of our living. Our living has a standard. Our living has a principle. And that standard and that principle is nothing less than God Himself revealed, expressed in our living. Such a truth, which is God expressed, right? God expressed, God revealed, practically in our living. Such a truth is the girdle. The girdle. these truths, girdles alone, to make us strong in standing. Surely, you just consider a little bit and look at yourself a little bit. I tell you, suppose your daily walk is not up to the standard as truth is in Jesus. Right. You can never stand up. Right? You can never stand up. You have to either lie down to hide yourself, or to cover yourself under some table. Right? You cannot stand up. Right? Because you know your living, your daily walk just has no testimony, has no truth there, has no God revealed there, right? Has no God expressed there, and your life is just a mess. Right? So low, even I use a bad word, so lousy. You see? I tell you, you can never stand up. You can never stand up against darkness, right? You must have a kind of a daily walk, a daily living, according to the principle of the truth and up to the standard of the truth and in the mode of the truth, and the truth is just God. God himself expressed, revealed as the principle of your daily walk, as the standard of your living, even as what? A pattern of your life. I tell you, if you have such a life, surely you got girdle. Yeah? In any kind of situation, in front of any kind of person, even in the front of the opposers, you can stand up there. Right? Because you do have such a girdle. Such a girdle. Without such a girdle, in my daily walk, in my daily life, God is not expressed. Rather, God is all what? Smeared. You see? God is all what? Shadowed. People in my daily life, in my walk, just cannot see God. And my daily life is just a mess. It's so low. You see? So what? So I don't have a girdle on my loin. Right? I have no strength to stand up against the enemy, against opposers, against anything that is a kind of controversy. But as long as we live a life, right, according to truth, under, I tell you, the principle and up to the standard, according to the truth that is in Jesus. God is expressed here. God is revealed here. I tell this girdle, this truth is a strengthening. Actually, this truth is just the very Christ we experience. Paul says, to me, to live is Christ. You just think, isn't this Christ his girdle? Right? Isn't this Christ whom he lives is his girdle? To me, to live is Christ. I tell you, this Christ is the truth. This Christ is the very God expressed and revealed in Paul's daily work. And this Christ is his mold. And this Christ is his pattern, his standard, his principle. Right? So Paul was strong in standing. Right? Under any kind of opposing circumstances, Paul was strong, standing there. Right? He was strongly standing there because he had the girdle on his loins. Then what is the breastplate? Here, you all have to see, spiritually speaking, or physically speaking, the breastplate covers or protects the heart, right? But spiritually speaking, it protects, covers our conscience. Our conscience. The breastplate, in spiritual sense, is a covering to our conscience. And this is why it says what? It says the breastplate of righteousness. If we have something, or if we have anything that is not righteousness, that is not righteous, then what? Then we have a conscience which offends, right? We must have a good conscience, a conscience void of any offense. We must have a complete conscience. We shouldn't have a conscience with many holes, like a beehive. A beehive. You know what is a beehive? See, many holes, many holes. Sometimes we have many offenses, many accusations, many condemnations upon our conscience. Then our conscience becomes what? Becomes broken with holes. I could never forget Brother Nee used to say, when your conscience has a hole, then your faith will leak out. Faith. When you have a conscience with a hole, then your faith will leak out through this hole on the conscience. That means when you have some accusation, some offense still remaining on your conscience, the faith is gone. The faith is gone. So what? So we need to deal with our conscience, to have a good conscience, a conscience void of offense, and we need also a breastplate of righteousness to cover our conscience. Just by reading the black and white, we would not be able to understand this item so well. You have to check with your experiences. I tell you, whenever, if you are intending to fight the spiritual warfare, the accuser, Satan is the accuser, right away touches your conscience. If you don't fight the spiritual warfare, Satan does not touch your conscience so much. Why? Because Satan knows you have some offenses on your conscience. When he touches your conscience with offense, right away you are weakened. Right away you are weakened. So Revelation 12:11 says, the brethren overcame this accuser. By what? By the blood of the Lamb. I tell you, to be covered by the blood of the Lamb. That is, I would say, mainly to have the breastplate of righteousness. Righteousness here is in the blood. This covering blood, I tell you, is the breastplate. This is not a doctrine. Doctrine speaking, you cannot reconcile what I'm speaking here. But experientially, you do know this. You do know that whenever we intend to fight against darkness of Satan, right away, at the ordinary time, you know what? Our conscience is not that sharp. It's not that sensitive. But whenever we would fight the spiritual warfare, we don't know why our conscience becomes so sensitive. All kinds of accusations come. That is not our conscience becoming sensitive. No, that is the accuser coming to accuse us. So by that time, right away, you have to say, I overcome Satan, the accuser, not by my perfection, even not by my conscience without an offense. I overcome this accuser by what? By the blood of the Lamb, by the breastplate of righteousness. And here we all have to realize righteousness is just Christ. He is our righteousness. The loin is Christ as God revealed, expressed. And the righteousness is also Christ as what? As our covering plate. We are not under our own righteousness. We are under the covering of the righteousness that's Christ. Christ is our righteousness. I tell you, you may say, as Christ is our righteousness, how could the blood is also the covering? Actually, I tell you, in our experiences, you can never separate the blood from Christ. Christ covering us, I tell you, without his blood, he could never cover us. You see, we need him to be our righteousness under the cleansing of his blood. We don't need to explain too much, but anyhow, in your experience, in the spiritual warfare, you could see that whenever you are fighting the war, you need to say, Lord, cover me with yourself as my righteousness. And Lord, I just hide myself under your blood. And you have to tell the accuser, I overcome you, not by anything as I can my own merit. I overcome you by the blood of the Lamb. Look at the picture. When you have your loin girded, and when you have the breast covered, it looks quite okay, right? It's quite okay. But supposedly, my 2 feet are bare. Have you realized? Let me share with you this. We need a pair of shoes for running, right? And for standing. Running including walking, right? Quicker walking is running, and slower running is walking. So these two are one. Okay. For which you need shoes more? For running or for standing? Which needs more of the shoes? You got the trouble. You try. If you cannot try here, after the meeting, go back to your place, you try. I tell you, to run needs a pair of shoes. But it doesn't need a pair of solid shoes. It needs a pair of soft shoes, not solid. But for you to stand, you need a pair of what? Cement shoes. You got to be cemented there. Then you can stand fast. Am I right? Try. Now I am standing here on the carpet. I tell you, if I don't have this pair of good shoes, just stand here bare feet. I can't stand quite well. I don't have the strength. Why? I don't have the firm footing. Here is a verse. That is verse 15. And having shod your feet, wait the firm foundation of the gospel of peace. I think nearly this is the only version that renders this way. most versions rendered with readiness or with preparation. Readiness, preparation. But when you render that way, shod your feet with readiness, with preparation. When you render this way, every reader will understand this way. That means you are ready to put on the shoes. Right? You are prepared to put on the shoes. Am I right? With readiness. But most of the translations are not logical. With the readiness of the gospel, what does this mean? Without this phrase of the gospel, with readiness, is logical. Shod your feet with readiness. Right? With readiness is a kind of modifier to modify the verb shod. That's okay. That means you are ready to put on the shoes. Right? You are prepared to put on the shoes. I tell you, out of 100 readers, all understand this way. Shod your feet with readiness. That means be ready to put on the shoes of the gospel. Be prepared to put on the shoes of the gospel. Am I right? This is a wrong understanding. This is a wrong translation. It's hard to get into this verse. But I fully believe what I'm going to fellowship with you is the right rendering. What is this? Listen. Here, the gospel is not the gospel of grace, neither the gospel of the forgiveness of sin, nor the gospel of the unsearchable riches of Christ. Here is the gospel of peace. In chapter 2, verse 15 and 16, there you could see a kind of peace was accomplished. A kind of peace was accomplished by Christ on the cross. And that peace was for us, right, to contact God. And for us, the Gentiles, to contact the Jewish believers. In other words, that peace, I tell you, is a good tidings. So, in chapter 2, it says, after Christ accomplished that peace, for us to contact God, for us, the Gentiles, to contact Jewish believers, so we have to preach this peace as a good tidings. We have to preach this peace as the gospel. So in chapter 2, the gospel is the gospel of peace. But in chapter 3, the gospel is the gospel of the unsearchable riches of Christ. Right? Now, here, the gospel of peace is not the gospel in chapter 3. Here, the gospel of peace is the gospel in chapter 2. In chapter 2. The gospel of peace, strictly speaking, is just the peace accomplished by Christ on the cross for us to be one with God and for us, the Gentiles, to be one with all the Jewish believers. This is the peace. And this peace is the gospel. I tell you, with this peace, there is what? There is the preparation. There is the readiness. Actually, the Greek word means what? Means there is the firm foundation. And this firm foundation means what? A firm footing for standing. It is clear. The gospel of peace, or we have to simply say the peace accomplished by Christ on the cross, has a firm footing. has a firm foundation. Now, we are fighting against the evil power. On what foundation? On the foundation of the peace that Christ has accomplished. And this foundation is a firm footing. A firm footing to shod our faith. We shod our faith with this firm footing. Now, let me check with all of you. I do believe this morning, 2,100 here. I believe you all will say that in the past, we all understand these shoes of the gospel is for us to run, to walk, to go around the globe, to pray the gospel, to go from New York City down to Miami, then from Miami down to Argentina. You have to have a pair of shoes of the gospel like this for you to run. Am I right? But actually, here, the firm footing, the firm foundation, the readiness, the preparation of the gospel of peace is not for us to run, but for us to stand. Whosoever in the past up to this morning has understood that the shoes here are not for running but for standing, raise up the hand. Not for running, but for standing. I think you misunderstand the question. Have you ever understood that the shoes here are for standing? I could assure you, not one. So you see, our understanding of the Bible is natural. You see, we don't know the Bible. Here, this section, I tell you, is for fighting. The crucial thing in fighting is what? Stand. You read the context. Stand. Withstand. It is when you are defeated you run away. You run so much when you are defeated. In fighting, if you are not defeated, you stand there. You may argue with me, brother, don't you believe that when we're at the factory, we ran after the enemies? I tell you, you read, here the apostle doesn't use the word fight. He uses the word wrestle. I tell you, Satan is a wrestler. In wrestling, what you need? Running? What you need? Standing. I tell you, it's hard for you to chase Satan away. Even you gain the victory, Satan is still here wrestling. The enemy, our enemy is wrestling. It's wrestling. He doesn't run away. He is wrestling. So what we need is to stand. 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 I think about the second time I came to this country. And the people nearly begged me to look at the TV on the boxing. Boxing. Isn't that wrestling? Yeah, okay. Wrestling and boxing. Which is worse? Okay, Forget about it. Anyhow. The spiritual warfare is not a boxing, right? It's a wrestling. It's a wrestling. In this wrestling fight, we mainly need a strong footing. A firm footing. Hallelujah. In the Lord's recovery, we have seen some. Regardless what happened, regardless what an attack, what kind of wearing, what kind of wrestling, these dear ones, as they have a firm footing, nothing can shake them. Nothing can shake them. They still stand there and withstand. Stand against and withstand. This morning, I just about give you this much. Now, we all have to see what is the peace. In chapter 2, it says clearly, Christ is our peace. Christ is our peace. It's so strange. Fighting is against peace. When you have fighting, you don't have peace. When you have peace, you don't have fighting. But here, we fight with peace. We fight by standing in faith, in peace. The standing for our fighting is the peace. We fight in peace. If we lose the peace between God and us, if we lose the peace between the believers, we lose the standing. What is the standing for our fighting? The peace. The peace between God and us, the peace between the brothers, the peace between the sisters, the peace. Now, what is this peace? Christ. Christ is the peace. I tell you, Christ is our peace for us to be one with God. Christ is our peace for us to be one with the saints. So we do have such a peace, and this peace is the firm foundation. And this peace is the firm footing for us to stand fast to fight against the enemy. So all the three items are Christ. The truth is Christ, as God expressed, and the righteousness is Christ as the covering element, and the peace is also Christ as our standing. We are standing on the peace to fight the spiritual warfare. I hope this word may impress you. Then through your fellowship and prayer, you will get into all the things. When you get into, you will realize what I have been telling you is exactly the real situation. We need such a Christ as our girdle of truth. And we need such a Christ as the covering plate. And we need such a Christ as our peace for our standing. So we have the strength, and we have the covering, and we have the standing, a firm footing. Now we are ready to fight. Right? Now we are ready to fight.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media or visit our website for more from Living Stream Ministry.